Greetings, everyone. I'm just trying to do a little adjusting on my. I was trying to make it so my glasses weren't reflecting back, but
I got
that's
that
good.
problem too.
They work the other way. Like I'm not. They're whatever polarized or whatever, so I don't. But they're and I don't know how to. I'm on a desktop monitor, so I can't
Same.
see the button to change it. Thanks everybody for joining us, and wow, that was something. Alex got to see his first big upset in as a reporter at covering Georgia Tech. Um,
I was trying hard in
it
the
was
press
interesting. The
box.
most vocal thing that happened was probably me in the press box when Trey Cooley got hit on that play where they face masked him, and I yelled out a profanity because I thought he was like. I was concerned he might have been like very badly injured. It turned out he was okay because it was such a nasty hit. But aside from that, yeah, it was like it was one of those weird things, man. Like intellectually, I didn't expect it to happen, but certainly in the tenor of Miami's last 20 plus years history of college football and the way Brent gets his team up to play these games and the situation, I kind of felt like maybe it was possible, but it just wasn't. I wasn't trying to send y'all false hope or whatever, or puff it up or like I just I knew about Haynes and his ability to throw the football and where he was at and all this, and it was amazing the amount of disinformation that was coming out over the last 2 weeks leading up to this game. I had people like privately message me saying he's out for the season. People like parents on the team like thinking that he wasn't going to play again this year. Like people not like disconnected from things, and a lot of it was sort of intentional misinformation that was going around. And um, it's been something something to see. Yeah, Alex noticed something what I'm chuckling at. But yeah, it was an amazing day. It was crazy. It was cool to see the fans rush to the field. I actually went down and like shot a little video and stuff. I knew it was going to take forever Brent Key to come to his press conference, so I got to go down and shoot a little video and a couple of the players came by and just congratulated them and whatnot. I was and it really for me in those moments, a lot of it's like so Tooch. I happened to walk out to like go downstairs, and Tooch came running down the stairs from the coaching box and gave me a hug. He was very fired up. It is funny just to like as you get to know these people personally. More than anything, I'm like happy for them and happy for the fans and subscriber, my readers, and all that. And then on a like personal level, it's nice for work and um, it's fun to cover a team that's winning these games again. Like it's been a long time. Um, getting two top 10 wins in a season. I know Florida State is absolute dog crap, but like at the time they were not, man. We listened to nothing but the hype train for 6 months going into that game about them. So like, that Miami team was very good. Cam Ward is a legitimate Heisman candidate. He played pretty well. He didn't do like the magic thing I was expecting all day, but that's because the defense played really well. They controlled them in every phase of the game. Literally, the only thing you could complain about in the game was the kick returns. That would be like if you were really getting into the nitty gritty of like, I want to complain about something. Um,
Officiating.
well, yeah, I mean, it's bad in all of college football. This is something. So I complain about it every week myself, like on Twitter, and it was bad in the game. But then I watched like parts of Georgia Ole Miss or like Alabama LSU, like the BYU Utah game in the first half. I fell asleep before the end of the game, and it's just bad. It's bad across. You got to figure this out. Like it's such a huge impact on such a huge thing, and you have gambling now, man. There's going to be like something bad that happens one day or something out of this. Like I mean that happened down in South America with soccer refs. Like let's not like put these guys in a position to have something terrible. But yeah, I mean you went into the game knowing that based on all of the things that we had seen this year, that Georgia Tech was not going to catch a officiating break in the game, right? Like you were going to have to create all of your own breaks, whether it was the way that you played the game, or the controlling the ball, creating turnovers, whatever it was. You were not going to catch a break, and you did not want to put the final seconds of the game in the officiating's hands either, right? Like you had to play very clean football, and they played very clean football and had a great game plan. It was I said this to Brett Key after the game. I like we're doing media after the media thing. I was like, this was like the plussed up version of the North Carolina game in 2022 with Zach Gibson and Tyson Pumachan. It's much more talented guys, in my opinion. But like, you had the running guy and you had the passing guy, and using them situationally and coming up with a way to move the football. It was a much more elegant version of that, I thought, than what they did in that game. And it worked, and they won, and it was an unbelievable moment, and a signature win for Brett Key at a time when he needed it, with a building full of recruits, a full house, relatively speaking. I mean, what is it, 80-90% full? And then a lot of really sad ass Miami fans leaving that stadium, probably fighting with each other and stuff. I saw some stuff on Instagram and things of Miami fans going at it. I heard some good stories from some buddies that were in the stands about some of their things. Alex, I mean, what did you think? It was I know you were yeah, I could feel the excitement from you in the fourth quarter when they did not go on their big run to like come back.
Yeah, I think I punched you a few times beside me. Just going to get some of the excitement out. But it was just crazy day. Like, I'd never expected Georgia Tech to just absolutely physically run. You'd be able to run the ball that way, especially the way they've not been able to run the ball the last two games. And then going up against Miami, I think we talked about it yesterday during the
They're the
game. It's
best
like,
run defense in the league, basically.
yeah,
I think statistically are up there. It was the same with Duke too. Duke was pretty good about that.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, they just from the opening drive, they just said, "Hey, we're gonna run it at you, and you got to stop it," and they really never did. So, yeah, number one offensive line. Well, I guess number one, Buster Faulkner, for the way that they schemed that up. Offensive line was incredible. Just absolutely probably their best game of the year, I would say. And then Haynes King, I talked about this in my piece. Like, that kid, you wish you could have a quarterback like that for the next, if unlimited eligibility, because you can tell it matters to him, number one, and he's so tough that he wasn't going to miss another game. Like, that wasn't on the table. I mean, I don't know at what percent he's at. He's not anywhere close to 100% right now. He could be as low as 50%. Like, he's hurting. You could
I
tell.
mean, he couldn't throw the ball like more than
Yeah.
10 yards. Like, and apparently, like, we can talk about it now that we're in the rear view mirror of this, but like, it sounded like from everyone I talked to in practice, he was trying to throw downfield earlier in the week, and then later in the week, it just was not happening. And so that's where, like, I kept getting, I just wasn't sure that they would do this. And it was funny because Brent Key was like, he like seemed a little taken aback. I asked him because I thought this might be the game plan. And it's funny because it wasn't, because anyone said anything to me or whatever. I wasn't tipped off. To be honest, I wasn't asking because I didn't want to be tipped off. I wanted to see what they were going to do, that they would use the two quarterback system and all that. And he was and they even did them both in the game at the same time, which was something I joked about. Um, but it made sense, right? Like, because you don't want to put Philo in that situation where the game is yours, blah blah blah. Like, that just was not fair. And they've really, to be honest too, they've struggled to run the football whenever Haynes King hasn't been at quarterback. And when he's played, they've run the football a lot better because the threat of him running opens everything else up for all the other backs. They played a lot of them. Four of the guys were in there at the end. It was Anthony Carey and Trey Cooley. Trey Cooley had not played since last year on offense. Had played one special team snap prior to Saturday, and then Carey, a true freshman that was not the true freshman they were expecting to maybe take a huge amount of snaps this year. They thought Trelane Maddox was going to be that guy, but then Trelane got hurt again, different injury, and there's Anthony Carey in there doing his best and with not a lot of room to operate. It was like a perfect storm, and they just kept weathering the storm there. And then, as some guys said on the defense, like the defensive back thing to me was really impressive too. You're down your best cover corner in Warren Burrell. You move Rodney Shelley, he's played nickel all year. He's played like maybe a couple snaps at corner this season. He played corner for the entire game. You had Zachary Toby come in and have to play some snaps, and Amari Harvey got banged up. Amari did a great job. You had Omar Daniels, who was a nickel all of last year and most of the season, and moved to safety, playing safety, played his butt off. Clayton Powell slid to the nickel because Sadie Gibbs was out. So you're down two starters in the secondary against the best passing offense in the ACC and held them in check most of the game. They had one really huge mistake early in the game. They gave up the long touchdown to Arroyo.
Yeah.
And then
But that was I
it
think
was a
going
fluke
back,
play where I think they came up thinking the ball was going underneath
well,
the guy that was stretching out.
somebody said it was a tip pass on the board too. I hadn't been back and watched the game yet, but I don't know. It was just a weird looking play. They kind of ran the same route, but yeah, it's crazy. But and Harvey got hurt during the game. I was thinking
Yeah,
then,
and he
like,
kept
man,
gutting it out, came back in.
just
Like
could
when
not
it
afford to lose another guy in the secondary.
that was where I thought Miami really screwed up because I told you this. We were sitting there and I was like, I think it was like it might have been like a second or third down, and they're in the middle of the field. Zachary Toby goes in for the first time. And he's played this year. It's not like he's totally green, but I was like, I'd take a shot at him right now if I were Miami. And they ran like a 1 yard run play on the next play. It was just like a dive. That doesn't make sense to me. At least throw play action there. You take your shot. But I don't know. Miami's defense also was confusing as hell to me. I was like, if Haynes was in, it was either a run or a screen, right? Like they were going to run the ball or throw a short screen pass. Like just play tight man to man on the outside, and he's not going to throw it over your head, and then load the box. And they just refused to do it almost the entire game.
Yeah,
So
I saw that. I didn't know if it was tipped or not. It was a weird play, but um, yeah, Miami's defense is like they've got all the like their defensive front and linebackers. They look the part very much, but I'm sure Miami fans would agree that they are just it's like the whole front of their defense is not on the same page. And Georgia Tech took advantage of it yesterday. Just ran it at them, ran it different ways, use inside outside, read option. I don't know. They just ran it down their throat and, controlled the clock. Georgia Tech could have put more points on the board. Yeah,
it
it was
wasn't like it was interesting because it wasn't like a great game. Like there was no like they weren't great on defense. They weren't great on. They were just solid, right? Like you go and look at it, and they were pretty solid just all around. Like it wasn't earth shattering. No, I bet I haven't really looked at the grades this week, but I bet no one graded out crazy on either side of the ball, other than maybe like Jamal, who only played like 5 or 6 snaps before he got knocked out, and maybe some different guys. Like I thought Philo played really well, to be honest with you, and
I, di- I
Haynes
did
did too.
I didn't mention that on the offense either. Like those throws he made on third down, and like he wasn't like under pressure from the like, but he
I
was
mean,
not.
the one he threw to Malik that moved the ball enough for him to have room to punt and like pin them
Yeah,
on
run
the
the
final
clock some
drive
more.
was one of like the best plays this year by a quarterback they've had. He was backpedaling and threw like a dime to him 16 yards downfield or whatever it was to get the first down. And he had a couple drops too that on some really nice passes he threw downfield that could have been big plays too. And that was the other interesting thing. They survived kind of their own mistakes at times. Um, it was just like I don't know. It was interesting. They just kept it together, man. Like whenever they had a setback, they just kept it together, kept going. Defense has been playing better and better to hold them to, and then they got help. Mario's an idiot. Like he's chasing points early in the game. Like They have the best kicker in the league. They're not kicking field goals. They left 7 points on the board on the field through not going for too early and then not kicking 2 field goals when they had opportunity to. So sometimes you get you know sometimes you catch breaks there too. Yeah, I've stopped. So with PFF thing, people ask me about this. Someone made a good point to me that keeps changing. They regrade the games for some reason now on Sundays. So I've pulled back, and that's why I didn't put it up today. Because like Philo's NFL QBR like jumped up from what it was like a few hours ago. I was looking at one of those, but yeah. So that was just like a really well executed game plan. David Shanahan played like his best game. People have been banging on him. He was great getting the ball out. He let the guys get downfield, got some hang time on his punts. Um, it was just like a perfectly executed game plan. Now, the trick will be, and maybe it's the benefit of having 10 days or whatever it is between games, but they got to get up and knock NC State off. Like NC State's a very winnable game. You got to figure out a good game plan for them and put them out, and then we'll see what happens. Georgia's as vulnerable as they've probably been since 16 when Tech beat them the last time. Right now,
And they
so
might be more vulnerable depending on how these next couple of weeks go. Because if they lose
yeah,
to
I mean they may
Tennessee,
pull a Miami and kind of fold up shop. Guys
yeah,
start thinking about the NFL or whatever. You don't know.
if they lose to Tennessee and they're out of the SEC race, and I don't know, 3 losses, um, I don't see how you're going to let them in. I know it's Georgia and big mighty SEC, but
No, they're not going to get in because
yeah.
I think there'll be too many other teams like still in the hunt.
So
You'll
that
have
would be
Bama or whoever still kind of floating around.
an end of season situation Georgia hadn't been in since probably Kirby's first year where they were kind of out of it. Um, so you never know what kind of you're going to get.
And the games have been close with Brent. That's the other thing. Regardless, they've been really good, and they played them 2 of their probably 5 toughest games in the last 2 years have been against Georgia Tech. So,
Somebody said Nico got hurt last night for Tennessee, so I don't know how bad that was. But
Heupel said that he'd be back for Georgia or something. I saw that. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Obviously Brian Bohannon got fired today by
I'm texting somebody about it right now. So they just asked me a question.
AD at Kennesaw State, and I have heard from so many coaches I know that don't work at Georgia Tech, don't know Brian like that are just appalled by what happened over there and that AD and what an idiot is. And now people are like tagging me on Twitter that I know that are like, and these are like people who are like coaches, high school coaches, college coaches, executives. Like this dude has no idea like what kind of like how like Brian was and respected and how difficult the job was he was trying to do. And they're running a football program basically that's like inferior to 50 high school programs in the state of Georgia, at least that I've been to, in terms of facilities and like even fan support, I would say in some cases. Um, like they're pushing a boulder up a hill. And so that's like insane to me that you walk away from the guy who built that thing in the middle of all this when you haven't given him the tools to be successful. Like they were not ready to jump, and that's on the AD and the school, not Brian Bohannon. So I think it's shameful, and it's the worst part of this business. And that's what a lot of coaches texted me today. That I couldn't, I texted people that you guys would know, people you don't know, and they were all just appalled by it. So, my thoughts are with Brian and his family tonight, and all those guys there. I know a lot of the staff. I know a lot of support staff, and even some of the players on the team that I've met over the years. So that's a better pill, and that's the
It's,
crappy part. It's not like Brian Bohannon doesn't have like Mike Norvell's buyout either. So like he's not set for life getting fired from Kennesaw State. You know what I'm saying? Like he's doing he's doing better than a lot of people, but those guys are not getting paid a 10 million, $15 million buyout either. So
it's
that's
crazy.
weighing on me tonight. Just what happened there. I just feel so
Yeah.
bad. You've seen guys like West Durham and my friend Dean Buchan, who was a longtime SID at Georgia Tech and Wake and Kansas. These people are just calling this AD out, and then Brian put out his own thing. It reminds me a little bit of sort of what happened with Bill Clark, and it's a totally different situation at UAB. Where they shut the program down, or somebody's go look at after Doc Holliday got fired at Marshall, or like a lot of these places don't understand this stuff. Colorado State was been pretty much a dumpster fire since they fired that guy that was there forever. That built these programs up from nothing, and then everybody thinks they can just insert a guy, and then you turn into Florida International or like some of these really kind of listless programs that can't win. So I think Brian's definitely going to land on his feet. I had a couple coaches reach out to me today that don't know him that wanted his contact info, and I passed them along to some people, and I just feel bad for him because he, put his heart and soul into that. And he spent a long time at Tech, obviously a UGA guy too. Has been nothing but great, and supportive and everything. So,
he won so fast, like there from a program that was nothing to
literally
winning.
they were literally in like top. I remember talking to Liam Klein. They were like in their offices were in a bank or something, like in a strip mall next to the campus.
And they, the normal, like, let's get too big for our britches and let's go, move up to FBS. Don't even give him the whole year. Like, give him at least 2 or 3 years to see. Like you said, he built the program. See if he can do it on that level. If he can't, give him time to
Well,
figure it out.
and a couple of their fans like snipe back at me. They hadn't done well. They played literally the most insane schedule last year. Like they had to like cobble together an independent schedule in the FCS, and they were playing like just random teams all over the country. Like
I think they played 10 games because they couldn't, but they only played 10 games. They couldn't find people to play them because it was
yeah,
just, they had to piece together the schedule.
it's just
So,
sad. I didn't want to get too far off the rails, but obviously that's a big story. Then you have Mike Norvell
firing his whole staff.
dumping the key
Yeah.
components to his staff, his receiver coach, and his two coordinators. I can't remember, and forgive me for this. I don't remember if Norvell calls the plays or if Alex Atkins was actually calling it. I know Alex missed the Georgia Tech game in Ireland, and they were making a big deal about that because he was suspended for, I think it was recruiting violations or something. And then Adam Fuller, who was considered like a bright star coach, his DC, and I think all of that stuff's way bigger than any of his staff. But people wanted blood down there, so again, like they're not gonna they'll win. They're gonna win one more game this season. I think they play somebody really bad in a bye game coming up, and then they're be a sickos game with Florida at the end of the year between those two. That might have to watch if it's not since Georgia Tech's playing on Black Friday.
Yeah.
But let's
Napier
get back to we got to get back to Georgia Tech. Like
yeah.
that's what people are watching. They don't want to. This ain't the overreaction. Let's talk college football show.
Well, let's get basketball out of the way, and then we could go back to football.
Oh God. So
Because
not
that was
sure if they
rough.
would have been able to close out and defend me today. The way it just effort was bad on defense, and they looked slow and tired. I don't know if they were hungover. There was literally like a discussion, like between the media, like trying to figure out what was going on. Um, it's it's just it reminded me of one of those NBA games you see where like a team loses like 120 to like 80 or something. It was a little like that. Like it just slipped away from them. North Florida is playing really well. They should be a tournament team. Yeah, honestly, beating Tech and South Carolina now, they probably put themselves in a position to be a 12, 13 seed and not have to play like Kansas or something in the first, or Duke or whoever in the first round. So that was actually a huge win for them if they can keep winning. Their coach is a good coach. He does a good job. He is an intense dude, man. He was like, if they put the video out, maybe I'll link it or put it on my socials. He was like like this, like talking to me, like when I asked a question. You know, I think it's I just think that you're gonna have some. There's still a lot of growing pains. Luke O'Brien talked about. He said that they were pathetic today defensively. That was what he said. He said people got to care more about playing defense than scoring the ball. And they were down one of their better defenders in Jaden Mustaf. I don't know that he changes the game, but maybe he brings you some juice on defense in that kind of wing guard position. And then Lance was a little bit off, and McCollum was off in the second half, and they just went into a funk offensively. Bob was struggling in the post and couldn't. He missed like 7 shots in a row or something in the post, and they were 1 of 6 at the line in the first half. It was just a bad day, and they happen. It sucks. It happened in game 2. Hopefully they rebound for Texas Southern on Tuesday, and then they had a huge game next Friday against Georgia that at 8 p.m. that I'm sure Damon's going to be pretty fired up about.
I think North Florida goes to play Georgia next too, if I looked at their schedule right. So, yeah. So, but yeah, that's out of the way.
Yeah, let's just set that aside. I'm encouraged by what I've seen with the pieces, what they're trying to do, but they're still, I mean, they're still not quite there in terms of all of the pieces and guys being developed to where they need to be and all that. And that's the one sort of caution. That's why I had them as a bubble team and not a team that's like firmly in the tournament. I think if they had all the pieces, then you're like, okay, this is a top 6 team, top 7 team in the league. They're still not there. So got to be a little bit patient with them. It's sort of like football, right? You're building the blocks of what you're trying to do. And there'll be some more nice building blocks coming very soon. We'll see what happens this week, hopefully with Bryson Tiller. I feel really good about where Georgia Tech is there. And that would be, one of the biggest gets since maybe like Derek Favors for Georgia Tech, and a huge piece of the puzzle for the future. We'll see if they can get that one done.
And I've tried to get in touch with the guy that visited last weekend too.
They had a good visit with Muhammad
big man.
Silla.
Yeah. So.
And they're in that mix. Probably a little less likely than Tiller. They would take both if they could get both. But we'll see what happens there. But they had a great visit, and he clicked with them, and they have obviously Bai and Saware, and there's a guy on staff that all kind of speak the same native tongue and get along really well. And he really enjoyed his trip, but he's not a talker, so Alex is going to have his hands full there.
Yeah, and I went through his I think it's like Bella Vista Hoops in Arizona or something. I hadn't heard back from them either. So, but yeah, hopefully Tiller. Hopefully they'll get that. OTE people get that to me this week about when it's actually happening, because it got pushed back from today. But yeah,
it sounds like maybe his agent and some other factors came into that, and he wanted to push it back a little bit.
You're not saying high school kids have agents now, do you? No, that's the world we're in. All right. So the first question on the board is just overall, how huge will the impact of this type of game have on recruiting? Well, as you can see throughout the day, we've been posting reaction stuff, and every single higher profile I've heard almost from almost all of them that were there, and it was a pretty good day for Georgia Tech to have a good day. You know what I mean? So I saw it during the end of the game too. I saw the recruit section. There were a bunch of kids migrating toward the student section to try to get in the mix with the field storming. So they were actually, and 3 or 4 of the kids actually told me that they were down there amongst the craziness on the field. So yeah, there was a lot of good feelings going around about the recruiting stuff from yesterday. And I think that could be felt in the 25 class, and then there was a bunch of 26 guys that were really impressed. So like you said, just building it one building the foundation, and recruiting's a huge part of it. You got to have bodies, you got to have higher end guys, you got to have depth pieces, and keys like they're on it. So there's no time off during the season recruiting. It's a big part of it, and they're putting themselves in a good position for it. So yeah, big day recruiting wise. So we'll see who changes decisions, who commits in the next few weeks, and it could be a fun ride to signing day in the next month or so. Let's see here.
I agree.
Well, there's the next question is about kind of what you were talking about, platooning quarterbacks. Have you ever seen a game plan like that? I think we talked about it a couple of years ago with Tyson and Zach Gibson. So,
yeah, and then the way he used Tevin Washington and Vadley when Paul was coach. That was another example. We've seen how some different teams, Tech has seen some other teams use two quarterback systems in different ways. Duke had one. It might have been with Riley Leonard when he was a younger player, and some different kind of running quarterbacks. Virginia. There's a couple other. There's one right now. There's someone else in the league that has like a big running quarterback, and I'm forgetting who they are right now off the top of my head.
there's a follow-up question on that same one about Philo redshirt, and I think we talked about this week. Like, I don't think Brent cares that much
I don't
about
think Philo
that
cares.
right
I can tell you
now.
right now, like the dad and the kid want to play. They've wanted to play all season. He was trying to go in on the 2-point conversion against Notre Dame. That tells you all you need to know. Like they physically were like holding him back from going in because Zach was pretty banged up on that play, and he was trying to go in the game because Brody was out, so they didn't really have anyone else to go in because you were down to you're down to Philo or Graham, who had not practiced a lot, and because Brody got hurt that week in practice or something, so it was like a whole thing, and they had to hold Philo back the whole game, like he was trying to go in the last drive when Zach was getting beat up. So you could see him; he was like standing at the hash at after some of the plays, like he just really wanted to get a shot in the game, which is cool, but they were being wise about it, not trying to get him in. I'll go with this one from the chat. I at the time also thought it was interesting, and we didn't ask about it after the game. Obviously, at the half they broke off the long run with Haynes King, and then they tried to. And I understand what they did. I didn't agree with the call at the time. They tried a QB follow play or QB draw with Philo, like basically the same play they had just run with Haynes King. They've swapped them out, and they ended up having to burn a timeout and then just ran the ball out. I think that it was sort of risk reward, like taking a shot, worrying about throwing an interception at that point. I think if Haynes King is in there and you have a more experienced quarterback in that circumstance, you maybe take a shot there. I think they just didn't want to give Miami a momentum play kicking off to them and to start the second half with the way the defense was playing. Do I agree with that? Ultimately, they won the game. I feel like there's a happy medium. Like you try something a little more creative than just a standard run play, but they had the momentum against the number 4 team or whatever going into the half. So I think Brent was happy to sit on it, let his defense play. But Brent's clock management was really funny. So Will brings up the Mario the timeouts, and they got him to use a timeout on a punt. So what happened there was I think they thought Georgia that was in the fourth quarter, and that's why they weren't able to get the ball back or force Tech to kick a field goal or try to score on the Singleton play. What happened there is Miami had 12 guys on the field coming out of the timeout. So Georgia Tech takes the timeout. They decide to punt. We thought they might go for it as like 4th and 3 or whatever, but they were at the 40 maybe.
Yeah, they're at their own 40.
Yeah, and the guy who's the return guy, I think Alex, maybe you were the one that pointed this out to me. He stayed out like at the Miami 15 or something. He was hanging out there during the timeout. He stayed out there. They sent their punt safe out. So then they had 12 guys on the field because they didn't account for him, and no one could, I guess, get his attention to get him off the field. They burned that timeout, and that kills him. Mario had a couple other really bad clock decisions in the game as well with how they manage their timeouts. He just sucks. Um, it's it's weird, but it bit them in the ass big time. Like it sure did.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice for them for them to be able to stop the clock one more time on that.
But again, they did the smart thing. Like when we saw Singleton slide, I was like, oh, that makes sense. You can just take two knees and go home. Like, it was Georgia Tech got Georgia once with Paul when Al Groh was the DC. They let them score. I think it was in Atlanta, and Scott Blair maybe missed a PH. Something happened like that. They missed a kick or something. They were down one. They go down the field. Georgia, like, and they just let the guy score because they wanted to try to get the ball back. And the running back was too stupid to do it. Now, the next time they played, the guy slid. The next time that happened a few years later, the guy knew to slide. But yeah, it's funny. And by the way, Georgia Tech with a troll that I missed last night that I didn't comment on, but they tweeted out victory formation and like a picture of them taking a knee with the final score graphic, which was a tremendous tool. So kudos to my buddies in the graphics department at Georgia Tech for the troll. I love a good troll of an opposing fan base after a dub.
Yeah, they've been good at that this year. There's a question on here. So, where do you say we're ranked this week? Just kind of joking.
Oh man, what's so funny about all this is right there, like just a handful of plays away from having a couple more wins this season. Going back to that Louisville game, if you don't implode and spot them 17 points, Cuse, if they just had figured out things a little faster defensively there and got some stops and opened it up a little more, it'll be interesting.
There's a question on here about Chad Alexander and Jamal Haynes' status.
No one will know anything right now. Like, I think Jamal is fine he stayed on the sideline in his pads. They just took his helmet away from him.
And he was celebrating like on the field after the game with everybody. So if it was a bad concussion, he wouldn't have been out there in the sunlight, and he wouldn't have been out there, celebrating.
Steve's got it. It was the 2010 game in Athens. They let them score late. To go back to that, Chad Alexander has just been dealing with I think it's his ankle. It's been just an ongoing thing. It's up and down, up and down. I think it was the same thing again. Someone was trying to tell me his knee. It looked like it was his ankle to me. If it's his ankle thing, it just is a rest and rehab situation for him. But it's nice to get Cooley back. Cooley looked good, actually. It's the best he's played since he's been here, in my opinion. In that game, he wasn't tripping over his own feet, was running confidently, even after he took that massive hit in the targeting. So that's encouraging to get a guy like that back with a little more of a veteran body that also has decent enough hands to catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit. Gives them a little more, especially with Jamal back. He's not a smaller guy. He's kind of the in-between size guy. So it'd be good to get him back in the backfield. I'll go ahead and give you this. Haynes King shoulder. It is, as Brent Key says, day to day. It gets better over time, mainly through rest. Now that's the one thing they're in their favor here. As these games set up over the next couple of weeks, they'll have some long breaks because they'll have whatever it is, 11 days or whatever before they play NC State, and then they'll have another sort of longer break, 9 days or whatever before they play Georgia. So hopefully it helps him a little bit. It's as Haynes said, getting hit on it isn't going to make it worse. That's not what it's about. It's inside of his shoulder. So it'll be exciting if he can start to throw it better. But what they're doing works pretty well too. It'll be interesting to see what additional wrinkles they can put in. And to be honest with you, now that they're bowl eligible, it may let let Buster be a little more creative in what he does too. Down the stretch here as the defense is playing better. I think you can get, part of what they were doing early in the season was to protect the defense because the defense was really struggling. Once they've gotten their sea legs, they've opened things up much better. I don't have an update on Kyle Eford. I know everyone's going to ask about that too. Same kind of thing. I think he's just banged up, and I think it was the same shoulder that was bothering him that I think, stretched out to try to grab the guy or whatever, or landed on it. I'm not sure. So
It
we'll
was
see what
on.
happens.
It was on his sack.
Yeah, it was on the big sack that he had.
And like we were talking about, he had 2 sacks, but he's only got credit for 1 because the
Yeah,
other one
had
was
one on the
on
two
the
point conversion. He had a
yeah.
strip sack on the 2 point conversion too.
Yep, and Vandenberg would have had 2 fumble recoveries,
It's
but he
interesting they haven't figured out to maybe like credit those plays because I feel like you should, and then you should have a separate stat category for the 2 point conversions that you score, like instead of touchdowns. But I feel like maybe you should count the stats from those 2 point plays.
I'm sure that with the overtime rules now with the 2 point conversion thing after the third overtime, I'm sure they count those on the stats if it goes to that. So I don't know
Yeah, I
why
just
you
don't know how they
wouldn't
count
count.
the conversion.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't count them during the game. It's yeah,
I would not
that's
count Kyle Eford out though. Let's just put it that way. If he can go, he can go.
yeah.
Um, he did the biggest thing that, and I said this on the board. The biggest thing that Kyle Eford did on top of those two big plays was he got everybody lined up and correctly set up for defensively. They were in the right position most of the time. They were in position to stop the run. They were not misaligned, which had been a problem in the 2 games he missed, and that was huge. He's the quarterback of the defense, as they say, the guy with the green dot on the back of his helmet. There's a reason why he was the guy they picked to do that. Um, and he has gotten really good at being that guy and being that leader and understand. And Tooch has understood his role and what he does well and what he doesn't do well, and been able to adapt calls for that. So, Kyle's a really big piece. It's very important to try to get him back for NC State and Georgia if you're Georgia Tech.
And the backup linebackers I thought played better yesterday too. And EJ Lightsey and Jackson Hamilton were on the field together a few times, and
Trent
um,
had a big half sack on a play
yeah,
with Thomas Gore. Uh, that I felt really happy. I was really happy for Gore because obviously he went to Miami, had these huge expectations, and they made him like their fifth defensive tackle last year, and it was like sort of the opposite of what I think. I'm gonna guess that's what they had promised him. And yeah, you're right. Tren and I thought Tren played well. I thought EJ played really well. I thought Jackson Hamilton played much better than he had been playing, and they were, in a better situation a lot of that game, and um, it was a huge improvement there. And then obviously you got big plays. Sylvain was really disruptive in there, getting pressure. He forced a couple throwaways. Got QB hit and a QB hurry in the game, and then obviously Romello had the huge play in the game too, and Romello I think had 3 QB pressures in the game too. Um, he has been very close to getting a lot more sacks the last couple games. He's started to kind of get comfortable in the defense and what they're doing.
and that last sack, I mean, it was a coverage sack, obviously, but it
I know
wasn't
Eric's
just
saying
like
that Eford went back in the game after he got hurt, so I don't remember that, but that's possible. It's possible. I have no idea.
I don't know how much special teams were after that because it was on the second to last possession, I think, for Miami. So I don't know, maybe. Um,
Yeah, I don't remember.
but there's a question slash comment on the board about the great catch by Chase Lane.
That
Um,
was a great play, and a little bit of a borderline call where you're getting the benefit of the doubt because the call on the field too. It's one that maybe they don't get it if he can't if it's not called a touchdown, doesn't sell it well on the field. Maybe they reverse that. It was, one of those bang bang plays, where you're glad they don't have all the TV angles from the high level broadcasts that you might get on an ABC game. They had a few less cameras for that, and so you didn't get the like the weird pylon sideways cam, I think.
And he
Some more guys are confirming that Eford came back in. Okay, cool.
and me and you were both sitting there, like, I think we even said it, like, we're gonna um, on that third down play, they're just gonna run it, play conservative and kick the ball, kick a short field goal, and um, said no, let Fallow throw it and let Lane go make the play, and they made the play. So you gotta have confidence that your guys are gonna make plays in those situations, and they did.
I like that
Yeah.
they threw it in the end zone. I thought that was a huge decision to. Yeah, I just don't trust the replay reviews either way. Like Chase made a great play, but it was a smart throw by Fallow. Fallow threw it out in front of him and gave him room to go get the ball. Like it was a really nice touch throw. We haven't seen a ton of those this year, and it was good to see like a touch throw in that situation, and they trusted him to basically throw what was essentially a fade, but wasn't quite a fade. It looked like, I don't remember now, but like
It was like a seam fade, like he threw it inside the DB instead of outside, and
yeah, it was weird, and he just gave him enough room to go get it. I guess he felt like that's where he had the leverage on it, or where he was comfortable with it, or whatever. But
I really thought coming off his hand, like he overthrew it like big time, and then Lane just went and got it, and um, Lane's a really good kid. I'm glad he finally got to make a play in a situation like that. And
the proverbial Leo Blackburn question here from Hal. He's not playing well, and you have a whole new receivers coach who's come in, Trent McKnight, sort of clean slate. Abdul Janae's getting his touches. Abdul's outperforming, out blocking him, and that's not like Leo's game's not laying out for a catch. It's going up and high pointing a ball and that kind of thing too. So that's a different play than what you would probably do for Leo. But I think he's just not. My assumption would be that he's not performing well enough in practice, but I don't know. Leo's a great kid. It's a great story. He's still, 12 months out from a major knee injury, and it takes time to get your confidence back and all that stuff. And I think that people got to have some understanding of where that kid is. He's not the same kid that was 17 years old in high school that had all this confidence and played really well in high school. He's had 3 pretty devastating college injuries. So we all like to play like video game football, but these coaches are out there watching them every day and making the decisions on who should play. And there's usually pretty good rhyme or reason, especially with Brent Key wants nothing more than to win the football to use guys. So I'd say if somebody's not playing, there's a damn good reason probably why they're not. They're not. There's not a lot of favoritism going on.
well, you can't play video game football with Leo because he wasn't in the video game. So
That's right. He didn't sign the thing to go in the game
I
for
thought he
whatever
was going to
reason.
be on one of the updates, but I don't guess he was. I don't know. Um, there's some sarcastic questions on here that I'll go. I'll skip on through, but there's obviously the question I think we get every week about Haynes King um, status for next year and all that, which we've gone
We don't
over.
know.
Have,
No one
have
knows
no
anything right
idea.
now.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing. You could say yes. We all thought Nate McCollum was going to come back. He was stumping for Brent Key, and then he was out the door to go to North Carolina. And then you've had other guys that like Eric Singleton who told people to pound sand. So you don't know. Like you just won't know on a lot of that stuff until the off season. Especially with guys like that are older. That like whether it's Zach or Haynes or maybe somebody else that's an extra year guy. I would assume Brett Seither would be back because he's been like coaching all year. But even someone like that, like you never know for sure. Romello Height, these guys that have that extra year but are older, what they're going to do. So you guys can ask till you're blue in the face. I'm going to tell you the same thing every time. I don't know.
does
And
Romello have
and
another
that
year?
yeah, Romello has one more year
Oh,
theoretically.
that would that'd be nice.
Yep.
Um,
Especially with Kevin Harris leaving, is out of eligibility. It would be nice to have an older guy at that rush spot.
There's a question on here about how attractive GT is to the various bowl reps. I mean, seeing fan support like that and a win like that, I think they would be more
Bowl rep? Did you say bowl reps? Did you
bowl
say?
rep. Yeah,
I thought you said
bowl,
ball reps, and I was like, the
bowl
hell is a
rep,
bowl rep?
old bowl rep. Um,
Bowl reps. Oh, okay.
I mean, there's like the ACC has a chance to have
It's
like
always
11 or
about like
12.
what the matchup is and like who's gonna sell tickets and what TV wants. Those are the contributing factors to the bowl games now. Um, uh, so I don't know. Oh, was someone was saying there was a guy like running wide open on the strip sack. I mean, yes, but he danced around for like 8 seconds. That's why somebody was wide open. Like
I
he was
didn't.
running in a circle because he was being chased down because they couldn't block a 3-man rush, which was
Yeah,
incredible to me. It was a 3-man rush. Uh, it wasn't as bad as the clip I saw of what Ole Miss did to Georgia, where they did a 3-man rush and they had like 3 guys block one guy and one guy run completely free at their quarterback, um, which was pretty hilarious. But um,
I didn't see that one, but I did see on that. I did see on the when Miami was held to 3 to make go up 10-7. Ward missed a guy wide open up the seam. It would have been a touchdown. Um, so yeah, I know he missed that one. I don't know.
I mean,
I
these
think
guys will miss plays. Like they're not,
yeah,
no one's a robot, right? Like you could watch NFL quarterbacks; they'll miss sometimes or overthrow.
but I think some of that goes back to uh, Georgia Tech mixed up coverages a lot yesterday, and
They
like
mixed
you
up coverages, and he
yeah,
took quite a few hits too. Like let's not
even a
sugarcoat that
Heisman,
either.
even a Heisman guy, if he's got all this stuff going in his mind, like it's gonna affect you. So
Look,
that goes back.
let's take a second here, Alex, and
Yep.
thank our sponsor. Everybody should go check out Section 103. They were very quick to jump on what happened yesterday. North Avenue Trade School is my favorite of the shirts. They got Haynes King gear. I'm sure the Aaron Philo stuff's coming. You get the Brent Key hoodie, the gray one there, which is like what Brent wears most of the time. It's just it's a great place, great to support people who actually care about your program versus just buying something from a big box store. So check out our friends at Section 103, providing the best of Georgia Tech gear for you every single day of the year. But yeah, so well, it's there's so many if ands and buts and this and that. What if Philo hits Eric Singleton on that deep ball where they underthrew it and he cruises in for a touchdown? There's a lot of stuff, and apparently Section 103 is running a sale tonight too, so go check that out. Um, yeah, they're like, so yeah, Cam Ward's turning literally his back to the line of scrimmage at time and scrambles and things like that. When you do all of that, it does change your ability to see what's going on. And a lot of their plays in those situations have been guys coming back to the ball and things like breaking off routes and stuff like that. And the other thing you got to remember too is they were down guys. They knocked Kobe George out of the game at one point. He took a huge shot in the back from Amari Harvey, I think it was. Um, Restrepo was out of the game quite a bit too. I think he might have been banged up. He was coming in and out.
There were some. There
All
were.
right, so let's go into Steve Cook's question here. So
I
he's asking
didn't.
about their Miami media being similar to FSU media and thinking they were going to get an easy win.
I didn't mingle very much. It took me. You were talking about getting down on the field and knowing you would have time to. So you got some video of the Georgia Tech celebration. Well, it took me a little longer to get to the visiting press conference because I was going against the grain of all the Miami fans that were coming up the stands, in that far corner. So it took me a little longer to get down to the field. So I got in the old weight room for the visitors press conference a little later, and I think Mario walked in like 2 or 3 minutes later. So I didn't get a chance to mingle a lot with the Miami
So
media.
I
But
know a couple of them, and I talked to obviously Marcus, who's our rivals guy, and he was confident, but like sort of Like, I think Marcus may not have made the trip. He was unfortunately moving this weekend. And he was like trying to figure out what to do. And then I didn't hear from him. And I don't remember seeing him in the box. Our former Rivals guy, Gary Furman, who's at On 3 now, called me while I was on a car trip this week. And I talked to him for a few minutes just about what was going on. And he's an older guy, so he was a little more cautious about it. He was very concerned about Haynes King, was trying to pump me to see if I knew anything. I didn't tell him anything. And also, really, I wasn't sure at that point either, to be honest. And that's what I've told everybody who asked. And then I did a video with a guy that was a big Miami guy where I put him in check a few times with he was getting a little too high on his horse about Miami and saying they were going to take the stadium over. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, there's only one team I've seen do that, and all the time here, it's the one down the street. And they got some rings and a lot more success over the last, whatever, 25 years that Miami has, even going around those two championships. So, like, let's pump our brakes. And they've taken over, like, Notre Dame and a few other places. So, like, Miami fans, like, have struggled to fill their own stadium up. So let's not plan on them taking over anybody when you're doing what Tennessee or Georgia or Bama does every week in home attendance. And then we'll talk about road takeovers of people. But they had a good crowd. It was 20%, maybe something like that, of the fans. I couldn't see the side we sit on, the press boxes on the west stands, so I didn't know what that. Apparently, it looked similar to the east side. So they had 25%, 20%, whatever it was. Jay Bat was very happy with the gate. I bumped into him on the field and said, "Make some money today." He said, "We already did, Kelly." So he was pleased that they sold tickets, and it sucked because it was a noon game that probably cost them I think they had a chance of getting a sellout if it had been a night game, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people who couldn't make it, and even some of the probably students that didn't make it because it was a noon game. So probably some Miami fans didn't make it as well. That's a shame.
I was I was worried about the student section as the game was starting. It was pretty bare, and then it filled up very quickly. So I don't know if there's long lines getting in or slow lines or
Yeah,
whatever.
it took them a little bit longer to get in, and I think that's very typical on noon games. And you get caught in traffic or parking. A lot of people had no idea where to park, like where we park out in the wilderness. There was a lot of people kind of stacked up trying to get into parking lots and stuff, like as I was walking to the stadium. So
There were a lot of Miami fans walking to the stadium when I did, and there was a certain smell in the air. I don't want to specify what it was, but there was a certain smell around a crowd.
a lot of that, a lot of fake gold, and a lot of Miami uniforms. I was told a story on the board today, but my car got messed up, so I rented a car and I did it from the airport to save money and out of convenience because I was able to just take Marta from Tech on Thursday or whatever it was to go get the car, and then did the same, dropped it off, and then took Marta to the basketball game today. And then after I dropped it off, and then my wife picked me up. But there were a lot of sad ass Miami fans in the airport at the rental car. I didn't ask Jay anything else. We just I just was joking with him. He was busy like handling all those people down there that take pictures and stuff before the game. He comes over and always says hello. We talk for a minute or two. At home games, it's harder to talk to like whoever because they always have so much going on. He's putting out 1,000 fires on a game day, so I wasn't trying to chat him up. He did crack a smile when I asked him about making some money off this one, so he was happy. Because let's face it, they've had some lean times trying to sell tickets and rebuild this thing. That old GC3 ran into the old proverbial ditch.
Just a little bit.
Both literally and figuratively ditch.
Yep. There's a question on here about the kid from Noonan that's committed to South Carolina. I think he's talking about the 2026 kid. Excuse me. Rodney Colton. I think he's like 6'2" or 3", 215-ish.
Oh, the
So
2026 kid. Yeah, he was fired up about it. He talked to you and Sam, right? Or you just talked to
yeah,
Sam?
I think I got something from him. But yeah, he's pretty big. So and he's a junior, so I can see him growing into more of a linebacker build, like 215, 6 plus. As a junior, yeah, he's a big kid. I can't remember. I got to go back and look. I've had a lot of DMs today on Twitter. So
Yeah, kids are fired up, man. Someone asked, Will's wanting to know if they're gonna have a flyover anytime soon. I have no idea how that works. I don't know the specifics of it. So that, like, I can't even see the damn flyovers where we sit. The top of the thing blocks it. So
didn't
that's
they get
something I
in?
worry about.
Didn't they get in trouble last time because the guy was
Well,
too
that
close?
was quite a few years ago where that guy he flew so low that I could see him, which like scared the hell out of some people and was also not really legal. Um,
Yeah, it was low.
yeah, 2009 Wake. That was the one. That was like my first year covering the team, and I was like, "What is this? What they do?" I was like, "Holy crap!" Um, but yeah, I guess they haven't, and it's hard because all those buildings. There's still more buildings shooting up all around the stadium, so it's probably hard to do the flyovers. I don't remember what happened. I just remember it was like, oof, because we've seen a lot of them at other games over the years. So um, yeah, that one definitely shook the stadium. It was it was still relatively close to 9/11 too, just not maybe optimal. And as a guy who watched that movie Black Sunday, was not maybe making me super comfortable either. So uh,
Yeah. There's a question on here about Zealous Hicks from Carrollton. I still haven't got in touch with him. I've got a contact at Carrollton though that I'm trying to work that to talk to him. So I think he did talk to Sam though, and he said something about the atmosphere being like a top four atmosphere that he's been in. And he's visited a lot of schools. So
well, that was
um,
the funny part with like Bryson and Kevin P and Demola, because they had been at that South Carolina A&M game, and then they saw an even bigger upset than that with Georgia Tech, and that was crazy. And then you got a full, even more insane. And the thing with Tech is because the students rush the field and you get all that, it's kind of cooler in a way than some of those SEC ones. Um, so yeah, that's exciting. And those kids were fired up, and they were fired up before the game. And I think it's just more proof of concept, right? Like that you're able to do some amazing things.
did
So
did South Carolina did they rush the field last week for Texas A&M? I didn't watch the game.
I probably not. I don't know how you would in that stadium. They have that weird like I don't know if I'm not gonna say this because I don't know, and Seth will get mad at me if I'm wrong about this, but they have their own hedge that runs like way further around the stadium or something. So I don't know. Yeah, hey Rob. So they don't pay like there's no that's an SEC thing. Like there's no fine. Georgia Tech's not getting fined because they stormed the field. Clemson storms the field after every game, win or lose. That's an SEC, the 250K thing. That's not a. I was explaining to somebody else that was like trying to tell me that they were going to get fined. I was like, no, no, no. That's one league that does that. Everybody else doesn't care that much. Um, it was very cool. Strat Jackets mentioned the 2014 team being honored. I would have liked to see a little bit more, like maybe let one of those dudes talk or something. But yeah, it was cool that they did that. I would have preferred to see maybe it be hyped up a little more. Or maybe they should have done that at the quarter change where they have the 4 minute timeout instead of the two or three, 2.5 or three. But yeah, it was cool. It was good to see a lot of those dudes back. Mike Seawalk came up to the press box, gave me and Rod a hug, and was happy to see us. And he was in the best mood I've ever seen him in, other than after they won the Orange Bowl or the ACC championship. So it was very funny to see him kind of just relaxed and it was cool. But yeah, I've stayed in touch with a lot of those guys from that team because that was sort of the first group of kids that I covered their whole recruitment from their junior year up. So I knew, like, I met Sinjin and his brother Jabari when they were, underclassmen at Hillgrove, and like Justin Thomas knew him well, and his dad, rest in peace, Milton. All of them. So that was the first group of kids that I really got to know, like, really intensely, and see their whole progression through their careers, and be successful. Obviously, in 10 and 11 and 12 and 13, there were kids, but that was that 2009-ish class, 2010, the first couple of classes that I covered here coming to sort of fruition. And it made it kind of special to cover that. And, Lord knows if they just had a little bit better defense, they could have, really made a run of it that year. They were that good on offense. They just were okay and made enough plays on defense to win some games. But it was a shame they didn't. If they'd had been healthy in the ACC championship game and had a Smelter, I think they beat Florida State in that game.
Yep. Yeah, that was a fun team. Yeah, that was the 2014 in Athens where they kind of ran it down Georgia's throat second half and got the kick and the pick.
Was that the game? Was that one the one where they stole the ball from Justin, or the play should have been blown dead? Or was it the 14? Or was that the 16 game?
I'm pretty sure that was 14 where they just ran out of the pile with it and then whistle.
Yeah, and like ran the other way for a touchdown or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and couldn't
should have been
overturn it.
blown dead. It had been like stopped for like a good couple seconds and nothing. They didn't blow the whistle. Yeah, that seemed like the fix was in that day. And then yeah, and then the 16 game where they clearly knew what the trick play was with Cersei, and that they knew what the trick play was and were like defending that throwback to Justin, and he just ran it into the end zone. Cersei, as Paul Johnson said, they got hoodwinked or whatever.
That was my laptop background for a long time. The
Stretch,
the leap. It was I was there that day. I think I talked about that on the board. I was in Athens.
Yeah, they did bull rush the snapper on 2 kicks in that game as well. That was illegal. Blocked them.
I was surprised I didn't get beat up that day because I was.
Were you being an obnoxious Georgia fan?
I'm usually calm, but not that day. But yeah, there's a question on here about Malik Rutherford having some untimely drops. Well, we talked about the Virginia Tech game. He was sick as a dog.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. That one other he had one. Was it? He had two. Did he have two? Or he have one?
He had the drop early yesterday, but then he made up for it with that last, the third down catch from Philo on basically the same route.
He only had the one drop. It was the deeper pass, right? From Philo, where he would have had a first down, and he just it was an interesting play because he was running kind of outward toward the sideline, like an out route, deep out, and was going up to catch the ball and just didn't come down with it. But it was that was the only drop they had in the game. I mean, they only had 16 targets, I think, in the game total. So it was not a lot of. They weren't chucking the ball around the yard.
I mean, you're going to have drops, but you're also going to have times where guys make plays. And the first touchdown yesterday when Rutherford took the screen and made all those guys miss, and I don't know. You're going to have drops. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't know if you watched the Falcons game today, but Alvin Kamara had one of the worst drops I've ever seen on he was wide open on a deep ball that would have clinched the game, but he just dropped it. So
it happens, man. Like it's never 100%.
Yep. Let's see here. We talked about the Mario calling a timeout on the punt thing. Some more sarcasm about Damon Stoudemire getting fired. Uh, yeah, let's see.
I always enjoy the random, on Twitter or X, the suggestions for me. One of them is the Florida State Norvell strategic staff shakeup, and that makes me laugh. That might be the spin that the poor Florida State media are having to put on their literally abomination of a season, the worst season they've had in a trillion years since like before Bobby Bowden, like when they were like in the '60s or something, probably when they first playing football there. That one makes me laugh. That's how I saw the Bohannon thing. Actually, is one of the little suggestions on the side.
I mean, he had to do something. They're not going to fire him, so he's got to fire some staff. And
No, apparently they owe him like the GDP of a small country in
yeah,
a buyout. So Jimmy Sexton's just sitting there hoping to cash in because he gets paid. If I don't know if he's Norvell's agent, I assume he is. Norvell got paid because the Bama job came open, and they panicked and gave him a big deal. Coming off a really good season, but gave him a big deal, and then on the season it was sort of a show me season whether he was even keep his job or not. And then the thing is, like, these agents get paid on these deals coming and going. So like if you're Jimmy Sexton, you're controlling a lot of this stuff. Like you're getting paid buyout money, you're getting paid the new coach that gets hired too. Like let's that's quite a racket that they have, and good on him for cornering that market, man. But he used that Alabama Nick Saban opening to get like so many dudes paid last offseason. It was unbelievable. I've never seen like a guy make so much money in like a week
yeah,
off of coaching hires like that dude did.
yeah. He made a lot of money when Saban retired because, yeah. There's a question about Pyron on here. What's the status of Pyron? Was he available for the
He
Miami
was an
game?
emergency quarterback yesterday.
Yeah.
He's still banged up real bad. Not himself. And we'll see what happens. I think right now the plan is to roll with Haynes and Philo.
There's a question on here that says, how does the defense seem to be clicking finally with what Santiago wants? I think he means Santucci.
I always enjoy the autocorrects or like guys just don't know somebody's name.
Or like
Are they finally clicking? Yeah, I think part of it is it's personnel driven, so there's some figuring things out, but also the guys start to understand the way Tooch calls a game, right? It's like offense, like there's a rhyme and rhythm and all of those things. Why they're calling things, what to expect, and also how teams attack you based on the types of coverages you're playing or the calls, how lines try to defend you, because it's a little bit different when you're doing it in practice. I think all of those things are kind of culminating in why the defense is playing better. Yes, Georgia Tech did impress a lot of recruits. That was their biggest recruiting weekend of the year. And it was those kids, I saw a lot of them on the field in the celebration, and they were super excited. They were all filming and going crazy and celebrating with the students and stuff. It was very cool.
Yeah, there's a question on here about being able to keep King and Philo next year with NIL money. So I don't know. Let's enjoy the moment here. Who's going to give Aaron Philo a big NIL deal? He's like, I don't
No,
know.
it's one of those crazy things. It's like the constant Buster Faulkner panic, or now they're worried about Tooch. People wanted him fired at the Syracuse game. Like, just calm down. Like, they have a plan for all this stuff. Brent Key has a plan for every possible situation that could come up. Like, these are people that you have adults running the asylum now, like, for lack of a better term. They know what they're doing. Like, they have a plan. Like, Brent Key's not caught off guard if somebody leaves and takes a job. Like, Brent has a Rolodex of dudes. Like, this is who I would hire with players. They know what they're doing. They know where they stand with all these kids. They have NIL deals. There's lots of stuff involved in all these things. Sometimes there's business stuff that's involved in them, even beyond some of that stuff that, like, people don't understand. So don't worry about these things. They will sort themselves out over time.
Yeah, let's worry about NC State and Georgia, and then
Yeah,
we'll
worry
worry
about what's left on the schedule.
Yep.
Oops, sorry. Any chance Choice comes back at any point? I'm sure Tashard still has his house here, still goes to it. I still talk to him every once in a while. He's happy in Austin. I think he needs to go somewhere where he gets a shot to be a coordinator. But yeah, him and Brent are very close. So if the opportunity came, I'm sure he would be on Brent's short list to try to bring back. But he has a really good situation in Texas and likes working for Sark. If
Yeah.
Tech wins another bowl game, so they go to 7 and City finish 7-5. It depends. If you beat Georgia, they're going to go to a better bowl game because that's historically what has happened every time they beat them. They might go to like a Gator Bowl or something.
I don't know if you saw the first part of the live tonight, but I was pretty excited. I
I
don't
think
know.
we're all tired. I think that's something that's being missed on all of this too. It's been a grind. The month of November is a little bit of a grind for all of us, and I've turned it into even more of a grind for myself because I'm doing a couple of things that I shouldn't be doing for my own gratification. I've been trying to go to every college football stadium I can in the FBS, and I'm going to cross 2 more off in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to the USF Charlotte 49ers game next week. Woo! And then next Saturday, and then I'm going to Oklahoma to watch Oklahoma Bama. So we'll see what happens. And then we've got basketball going on all the time, plus family stuff and whatever else. My mom's cat died this morning, so it's been family stuff. I missed my kid. I'm glad Tech won because I missed my kid winning a championship in his soccer league and scoring a goal on a game on Saturday. So he was pretty stoked, happy for him and his teammates and stuff. They have a really cool coach. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into all this stuff that we never see behind the scenes. So Alex and I think are both a little bit pooped,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
There's a question we talked about earlier about the Tiller commitment. We don't know timeline wise. I'm assuming it's sometime this week, but we'll see. I'm trying to get the OTE people to send me some info, so we'll see. Was Miami players?
Nick, yes, Alex is a Tech fan. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted someone like Alex to come into the orbit. I think he brings the plus and minuses of being a Tech fan into this thing, and I try to be as much as I can right in the middle of things. I felt like it was a little more fun to have somebody with a little skin in the game being involved in all of this. So that's why I did that.
Yeah, I'm a Tech fan, and I also.
But he's also a journalist. It's not like
Yeah.
Alex is not. Alex spent a long time in the wilderness as a journalist, so he's been.
Yeah.
As Alex and I joke about, he has covered things that are like my nightmares from my brief time as a prep writer.
Yeah.
He covered like wrestling tournaments and cross country, all of the things that I disliked covering when I covered high school preps.
Yeah, it was. There were some long days. Yeah, area wrestling tournaments that start at 9 a.m. and end at 9 p.m. and state cross country finals in Carrollton at every classification that goes for all Saturday morning at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah, there were some good things in there.
Life's a little bit. He's got the cushy job now
That's
of
right.
just tracking down teenage boys and going to Georgia Tech periodically to watch games.
Yep.
Go to practice once a week.
There's a question here about Miami play. Do you think Miami was playing dirty or had hunting tackles? I don't think so.
I think they just play the way they play, man. They
Yeah.
play with an edge, and they always have. That's the same way every other Miami team I've ever seen plays.
Yeah. Let's see here. There's a question about NC State. I think
I haven't. I
I
barely
don't know.
watched them.
I hadn't either. I watched some of Grayson McCall earlier, but he hadn't played in 5 weeks. So
Yeah, I watched them earlier this year too with him, and then their games seem to have overlapped with Georgia Tech's. for the most part, schedule wise. So it's interesting because I saw Miami play a lot, but I haven't seen NC State as much. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of their weird games. I warned everybody that they were probably going to come back down to earth because Stanford's really horrible. Because everyone got worked up when they dropped almost 60 on Stanford, and I was like, Stanford's sort of given up at this point in the year. Like they gave up 50 to Notre Dame, who had not scored like that on anybody, and then we're only bested by Florida State's dog dog crap performance. Yeah, Grayson McCall had to retire because he has the Tua Tagovailoa concussion thing going on with him. Only people are actually looking out for him.
Yeah, that was the point I was making. Is I hadn't seen NC State play a full game since before Grayson McCall retired due to concussion issues. So
Yeah, it was
I don't
early in the year.
I don't
They're
have
off this week too, so
well, they lost
I'll
to
have to go
Duke.
watch them. They lost to Duke by 10.
Yeah,
That might have been the only pick I got right this week in
I
their
got to go
picks.
back. Yeah, I hadn't looked at that yet.
I was okay being wrong, as I said in when I texted you. I hope I'm wrong, and I picked the Tech game wrong. I was okay taking that L.
Yeah, they were. I think I picked them to lose by 10, so I got it inside the spread.
Oh, did you get it because it was at 11 or whatever?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's
Yep.
see.
There's a question about was that the loudest you've ever heard Bobby Dodge Stadium?
No, because I was there in 2009.
Yep.
And even I would say even 2015 on the Florida State game when they took the block kickback was really loud.
I wasn't at that one. I gave away my season tickets that night, and of course I missed that one. So um, that's the way it goes.
Oh, you are really truly a Tech fan, Alex.
Yeah, that's right.
Your bona fides are not to be denied by anyone.
Yep. There's a question on here about playing 5 games in a row with no bye week. I asked Brent Key about that. I think last week because we're in the second bye week. Just the way we talked about this before, but the way the first part of the schedule was set up, you play that week 0 game and you play 4 games like everybody else, and you finally get a bye week. That's going to take a toll on your team. I think that's kind of when all the stuff started with everybody getting banged up a little bit. So, yeah, I think that's had an impact on the overall health of the team because you have your long fall camp and then you play 4 5 straight games. I definitely think that has had an effect early in the season. But then it leads to this weird November schedule where you've got 2 off weeks and 3 games, and so maybe we're getting ready to be as healthy as we've been since the first of the year.
Oh God, you and I both picked Florida State to cover.
Good pick.
That was a good pick. Oof. I decided to go look at this while we were going through this thing.
That's awful.
Oh God, I was saying you're doing okay until I got to that one.
I think I picked Wake to cover against Cal, maybe, and that I don't think that happened.
So let's see how you did, Alex. 0-1. So you got the check for Tech covering. Let's see. So Alex was 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4.
Oh yikes!
3-4, baby, for you. I went 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4. Bronston 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2 for Bronston.
Yeah,
Continues to kill us.
He's kicking our tail.
Said 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2. So a good week for Seti and Bronston, not so much for you and me. I mean, if you were going with my picks, I think you'd make money this year, barely. If you went against Alex, you'd make a lot of money.
That's right. Fade me
Alex is like
big
at
time.
80% if you vote against him.
That's right. I need to go back to the fade myself strategy again. But yeah, I think we're
Oh boy, well, I'm not getting into whatever that is you're asking, brother.
next 10 years.
Yeah,
Oh man. I'm worried about the next 3 weeks.
yeah.
Uh,
Let's get through like the end of the season, the beginning of next. We'll start
I'm
worrying about other stuff.
The last question on here before it's locked was about over under transfer to GT from FSU after the season.
I
Half
have
of
no idea. I'd
them.
have to look at their roster because a lot of the guys who are playing are either going to go to the NFL or like they're going to, they're out of eligibility or whatever. They have a weird roster.
I mean,
Uh,
they took a ton of transfers this year and it didn't work. So,
I mean, they loaded up on the Bama guys that Bama was like not fighting to keep, which is an interesting strategy.
yep.
Um,
That's it from the board. I think I got through most of them. A lot of repeat questions, but
yeah, well, we've done a long time here today.
where we at?
Yeah, I mean, there's like you look at this, it's just hard to tell like who you would go after from there if you were going to go after anybody, and whatever's going on there, they're going to try like hell to keep a lot of their pieces, but they have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. With if DJU was playing, they'd have like 11 or 10 of 11 starters on offense are seniors, like end of the line seniors. Their defense is a little bit younger, but a lot of older juniors. And then a couple, they have like 3 seniors, I think, starting on defense. And then 3 or 4. And then the only guy I can think of that's younger is that Hussey kid, the safety. And they had some but even their backups, a lot of them are older guys. I don't know. They're like trying to build like as a joke, like the Mets or whatever. Like, oh, TJ's asking about they went. Did you miss that in the game? They went under center and did a QB sneak with Haynes King in the game. Got a first down. See it?
I thought the pistol shotgun third and shorts and stuff worked pretty well yesterday. That's why I talked about the offensive line being a ton better. Like those plays where we were getting blown up, 3rd and 1, 4th-and-1 earlier in the year. It seemed like we figured that out. I need to stop saying we. That's my journalist side
Yeah,
not coming
you're doing
through.
the failing. You would have been chastised by Doug Roberson if he was still on the beat. He used to yell at people that said that in the press conference. I love Doug. He's my boy, but he got into it a couple times with some different people when he was covering Georgia Tech over that. But yeah, it's I thought they were better in the short yard situation, a little more direct playing, and yeah, they did do a sneak under. They went under center. They have a couple of plays under center. They had a lot of different calls on yesterday. They were good on third down yesterday. They were 7 of 10 or something like that in the game on third
That was
downs.
that was what Cristobal said in his press conference. Like the game was won in 3rd down and 4th
They
down.
were 4 of 12 or something. Florida State, so 4 of 14 maybe something like that.
Yeah.
And Tech was 7 of 10 or 7 of 12 or something.
Yeah. I thought the game was won a little bit more with overall the way they couldn't stop the run, but
Oh, TJ's talking about the last run with Haynes where he got blown up. Before
it
they
was a
punted.
misread. It was a misread that
Yeah, the
play.
guy was like like the running back was, or whoever it was. I
I
don't
think it
remember.
was a receiver like
Was it
jet
a
sweep again.
jet? Yeah, and that person was uncovered. Like no one took him, and he held the ball.
They had a ton of success with that yesterday. And like a lot of times this year, those plays, King would keep it and go at the middle. Yesterday, they actually got on the edge, and Singleton had some. I think
That's where they should be making money when they seal the edge. But again, that was part of that. To not belabor points, there was decent blocking from the receivers. And they had their tight ends back. You You had Jackson Hawes, Rylan Godey played. Yeah, Josh Beetham back. They actually were able to suit Harrison Moore up as an offensive lineman for the first time in several weeks.
And
So
Nathan McKinney played left tackle some yesterday.
yeah, he
So,
looks good. That kind of hurt them early in the year not having him. He was banged up, and then I think they decided to try to save a year on him for the future. Even though Brett doesn't want to talk about it, I'm fairly certain that that decision was made because I think he was ready a little bit earlier than they went with him.
you want to talk about college basketball again? I think we
I do
got
not
enough.
want to talk about the basketball team. That's earlier in the show, Nick. If you want to go back, that's in the very first part of the show. I went into a whole rap on the basketball team, but appreciate everybody for joining us. I'm gonna go get some sleep. I'm on daddy duty all day tomorrow because my littlest one's school's closed for some sort of teacher work day. So appreciate everybody, and we'll be back soon. And maybe if we're covering a big time commitment this week, we'll come on talk about that. But thanks everybody. Be good.
See y'all.
Catch you in the next one.